Do you ever want to dive deeper into the Bible, but you just don't know where to begin or struggle to feel like you even have the time? When you read the Bible, do you get frustrated because you know there is so much more in there? You just have no clue how to get it out. Or maybe you just want to know the Bible better and you're looking for any resource to help. Well, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Context and Color of the Bible podcast. We are two sisters. I'm Erica.
And I'm Veronica.
We love to study the Bible and help others understand it better. When it comes to our own study of Scripture, we have found that in bringing back the context of Scripture, it adds so much to our understanding. It actually adds color to the black and white pages of the text. Hello.
Hi. Erica realizes she needs glasses because we're like 8 feet away from the computer.
And I'm trying to push the record button, and I can see it, but I can't figure out how to get the mouse to it.
You look good. Just leave it.
I got it.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, hello, everybody.
Yes.
Veronica.
We have 2 weeks left of Deuteronomy. Today and next week.
How long?
We started in September.
Holy cow.
But it's 34 chapters.
So it's been a legitimate, but what a journey
I know
we've been on.
I know. I'm excited for next week when we kind of wrap it all up and come to the end. I'm not excited for Moses to die.
That always makes me want to cry.
I know. Truthfully. Because we've been with Moses since he was born.
We have watched this man.
He was a 3-month-old baby who was supposed to be tossed into the Nile in Exodus chapter 2.
He was put in the Nile just for a different reason.
Yes, and in a different way
Yes.
than Pharaoh wanted. But as we get to these last two chapters, not last two, but last couple chapters, we're going to do chapters 31 and 32 today. Next week, we'll do essentially 33 and 34. But these chapters, 31 to 34, are the epilogue, both to Deuteronomy, but you also have to realize in wrapping up Deuteronomy, that is actually wrapping up the entire Torah, Genesis through Deuteronomy. So we have it next week. We're going to just tie a few quick ends together as we wrap up the entire Torah. Because right now, as we start 31, Moses is wrapping up. He's reminding the people that he's 120 years old.
Amazing.
I know. And that he doesn't get to go into the promised land with them.
And he brings this up several times in the book. It really bothers him. I don't blame him. Like, I'd be irritated too.
He does remind them. But I found it interesting that I think the common belief is we think, oh, Moses didn't get to go into the promised land because he hit the rock rather than speaking to it. But commentators are saying, no, it's because Moses actually ascribed the miracle to himself and Aaron rather than to God.
So he took God's honor and glory, if you will?
Yeah. He was ascribing divine abilities, even if it was unintentional, and the risk that he would be worshipped by the people that he was leading rather than giving the credit to God. Because if you think about it, you're leading a group of people, granted it's been 40 years wandering in the wilderness, but they have come out of 400 years of idol worship where you did worship the Pharaoh. And so you still have potentially lingering, and truthfully, probably all those people who he's now leading weren't even in Egypt.
But parents were, and that's a big thing you pass down.
Mm-hmm. And if one commentator said, if Moses had entered the promised land, the Israelites would have been sorely tempted to worship him as a divine being.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it, of just, we go into the promised land because Moses is going to remind the people, this is God who's going to fight your battle.
I think I would be terrified then for him to die.
Yes.
At that point, because then it's like, well, he's brought us here. How do we keep it without him?
Right.
Where if he dies before we go in it, okay, God, it has to be you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I just think too, you look at Christian leaders today who are popular and you go, oh, how many fall because of popularity? How many? I mean, we're not going to list names, but you could and just go.
I just read of one yesterday.
I know.
Oh, you did too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was shocking.
Yes. And you just go, how many? In a way, I go, does popularity and fame become our downfall?
Very few people seem able to handle it well.
Mm-hmm. And Moses, I do think, handles it well.
Yes.
He remains humble. but it had to be a continual choice or divine ability to control that.
I love the way Elizabeth Elliot, I think it was Elizabeth Elliot put it, or was it Corrie ten Boom? One of them. Like somebody asked them, aren't you always amazed to go to when you go to speak and there's so many people there so excited to see you? Like, how does it not go to your head? How do you not let it? And it was one of the two women responded, did the donkey that Jesus was riding on the way into Jerusalem feel excitement because the crowds were there? Or did the donkey recognize they're not here for me? They're here for the one who's sitting on me. They're here for Jesus. And she said, that's me. I'm the donkey. They're not here for me.
Now I want to know who said that.
It was one of those two.
That makes, both of them would make sense.
Yeah. And I thought,
but that's such a good point.
They're not here for me. They're here for Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have Moses saying, essentially verse 3. God's going to fight your battle. Don't be afraid. God wants you to be strong and courageous because God is with you and he will never leave you. I mean, so even in that, you do have to have Moses removed because otherwise it's too easy to go, it's Moses.
Because we're people and we like people. We touch human. We want someone I can look at, touch, see, feel. It'd be so easy to just connect with him and be like, you're it.
Yeah. So then Moses turns and he even says it to Joshua in front of all the people. He gives Joshua that same reminder. God's going to be with you. He's not going to leave you. Joshua, you be strong and courageous. And I love this because if you know the story of Joshua, you know that's how Joshua starts out chapter 1. He's reminding the people, be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. The Lord your God will be with you. And so you know Joshua takes that message, that lesson to heart because he repeats it. So now let's get back to Moses. So Erica, I'm going to have you read verses 10 through 13.
So Deuteronomy 31, 10 through 13. Okay. Then Moses gave them this command. At the end of every 7th year, the year of release during the festival of shelters, you must read this book of instruction to all the people of Israel when they assemble before the Lord your God at the place he chooses. Call them all together, men, women, children, and the foreigners living in your towns, so they may hear this book of instruction and learn to fear the Lord your God and carefully obey all these terms of these instructions. Do this so that your children who have not known these instructions will hear them and will learn to fear the Lord your God. Do this as long as you live in the land you are crossing the Jordan to occupy.
Okay, so when is this going to, every 7 years during what feast?
The Festival of Booths?
Yes, yours says shelters.
I know, that threw me off.
That's why I said, ooh. Okay, the Festival of Booths, also known as?
Tabernacles.
Okay, and
Sukkot.
Thank you.
I was trying to rack my brain.
Yes.
Too many names.
Okay, so when does this feast occur?
In the fall.
Yep. And it's
September-ish, October.
Yeah, it's the last of the 7 feasts. It's the greatest feast, and it's the biggest celebration.
It's a week-long party.
Yes. And so every 7 years, okay, which should make you think, oh, canceling debts, they're going to read all of Deuteronomy, which my commentators say would take to read it aloud 3 to 4 hours.
Oh,
not too bad. And then what's interesting, where the Greco-Roman view of women is that women were intellectually weaker. God and the Torah do not see that. This needs to be read and taught to men and women alike. And a father was obligated to teach his daughter the Torah. There was no distinction of, oh, women, you just sit down, miss out. This is for the men. No, women need to know it as much as the men. And in a way, I almost think women need to know it more.
Because they're passing it on to the children.
And because God does protect them in ways.
That's true.
You know, they need to be able to know how they're protected and see how God is their protector. But you have then the Torah giving a great lesson that teaching the nation's founding text to every generation is important, because if you don't do it, you will cease to be a nation. And you see, religion in Judaism is not to be concerned with the priests only, but the whole body. Everyone is to know these religious truths, because this is intended to be an everlasting possession to all the people.
So you need to keep teaching this to each new generation of Jewish people, because then it keeps them who they are, what they are. Here's your purpose. As this nation, this is it. This is the core, the center. Okay.
And if you do it every 7 years, then you don't wait until children are adults before they experience it, before they learn it. This means basically every child would learn it and hear it soon after reaching an educable age. Because if you're doing it every 7 years, okay, I was pregnant with you last time we read it. Now you're 7 years old. And then you're going to hear it 14. And so if you go human lifespan, I'm going to say 70 to 80. I mean, you're hearing it 10 to 11-ish times throughout your lifetime, how that starts to ingrain itself. And especially when we get to the next chapter where it's a song or a poem, that will be in there. All right, so now we're going to switch back to God talking to Moses. He tells Moses, the day of your death is getting near, so go grab Joshua. And God wants Moses to remember that he himself will appoint Joshua as successor. God's picking Joshua. It's not Moses' decision. So, Erica, will you read verse 16?
The Lord said to Moses, you are about to die and join your ancestors. After you are gone, these people will begin to worship foreign gods, the gods of the land where they are going. They will abandon me and break my covenant that I have made with them.
Not exactly the most encouraging.
Nope.
But we cannot know for certain. But this verse seems to refer to an afterlife. Because it says you will go lie with your fathers, not be buried with your fathers. Because we know Moses was buried somewhere unknown. He was not buried back in Egypt with his family or anywhere in the wilderness.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. So that's true. How do you join your ancestors if you're not buried with them?
Right.
And he's not buried with his ancestors.
Right. So I thought that was kind of an interesting...
Yeah, to join with them means it must be after.
And God is now declaring directly that Israel will fail to keep the covenant in the land. So when they turn away from God, God says he's going to hide his face. That means Israel will be exposed and unprotected. But in order to kind of help slow this down, maybe stop it, even though God knows it's not going to work, he tells Moses to teach this song or poem, depending on who you're reading, to the people. Because this poem is going to say that if they go astray, these words of this poem will serve as witness that they actually knew the right way to act and what to do, but chose to disobey. And it's included, memorize it. They need to know this. But because here's the thing. People who attain affluence and material security will often abandon God. They become affluent. They no longer regard God as necessary. They can meet all their needs. We needed God in the beginning for moral guidance, for a purpose, for meaning. But now that we have all this, why do I need him? What do I want from God?
It's so true. Just look at America and Western Europe. I mean,
all of us.
Yeah. I mean, anybody.
I know I pray more. I listen more to God when things are hard.
Yeah.
So God knows that when we don't need him, we so desperately, we can have a tendency to fall away. So this song is going to remind them of the truths. So when those hard time comes, they will know why the evil is falling upon them. In verse 22 tells us that Moses wrote the song down and taught it to people. So he obeyed. He did what he was supposed to do. Then in verse 23, God is going to speak to Joshua and he's going to tell Joshua directly, be strong and courageous because I'm with you. I mean, I just love that. Joshua keeps hearing this. He gets it from Moses and he gets it from God.
I would need to hear it over and over again. If I was in his shoes,
I'd want that memory.
Yes.
So we have Moses coming to the people and telling them, hey, you're going to take this book that I'm going to write out for you and you're going to put it in the side of the Ark of the Covenant, or at least the 10 Commandments. The book of the Torah is going to be inside the Ark, inside the most holy place. And he reminds them that when they've been rebellious, and he knows they'll rebel again, that heaven and earth are going to be witnesses that they knew better.
And he does call heaven and earth. Is it Micah?
Yeah.
I think he calls heaven and earth and Micah as witnesses, and maybe other prophetical books.
Yeah, your husband is definitely...
Yeah, hit on that.
Yeah, because Micah's the courtroom. And so, because I love it too there's times, I have one child in particular who will say, I told you this. And it's like, I do not remember you telling me that, child. And it's like, I would love to have like the walls of my house be witnesses.
Sometimes.
Did he really say that? Because when it comes down to, I told you and you just forgot. I told you and you weren't listening. It would be nice to have witnesses, because I have gone to the other two children then and gone, do you remember this conversation? Most of the time, it seems to always happen when it's just, oh, Mom, we weren't there. But so Moses is calling on them because truthfully, in ancient Near Eastern treaties, you would summon a witness, but normally it would be a god or gods, because that's just how you establish a testimony. It has to be the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses.
I love how God has 2 witnesses. And he wants them. Like, I'm not worried about keeping my end of the covenant. Bring it on. Like, bring the witnesses. Let them come and listen to what I'm saying. I'm not worried. I'll keep my end.
And because this is an eternal covenant, you need eternal witnesses then. You can't just call on, well, Moses' brother was there, Moses' family. You have to have eternal witnesses who will last just as long. And so you do get heaven and earth. And then they're going to be told again, you're going to act wickedly. In verse 29, that word wickedly is the same verb used in Genesis 6:12. Do you remember what's happening in Genesis 6?
Yeah, that's Noah, the flood.
Yes. So that's how wicked. You guys are going to be so wicked. You're going to be as wicked as when God had to destroy the earth.
Right. Ouch.
I know.
It's that would be so hard. I don't know what I would think, because I'd be like, if somebody came to me before I got married and said, you're going to have an affair on your husband, and I'm going to teach you a song about your affair and adultery on your husband.
Is that not a challenge, though, in a way?
I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I guess that's what it would be.
Sin crouching at your door, and you can master it.
I'm not going to have one.
Yeah, and I have this to remind me.
Yeah.
So commentators say Moses seems to be vacillating between expressions of love and anger in his final message to the Israelites. It's the message of love for and a belief in the people, but also an attitude of certainty that their future is going to include ingratitude, disloyalty, idol worship, falling away from God. I mean, you can just, the heartbreak of, I know you can do it. Because if you go back to where we started, Moses is trying to pull these people together to go, as we spread out this amazing thing we've worked for, we have to stay in this together. And I know you can do it if you choose to. You have a choice. I mean, that's what he says the whole time. You have a choice, life or death. And I'm going to keep telling you, I know you want to choose death because I've watched you choose it. Choose life. Just, there's so much emotion in this.
If I could see, I mean, I get it when I think about my own kids. There are times, right now they're all young enough, but as they get older, if I were to watch one child make dumb decision after dumb decision, my heart would break and I'd be angry and love them at the same time.
I know. So let's get into the song Moses is going to teach them. This is chapter 32. This is basically Moses describing the consequences of Israel's anticipated betrayal of God.
Oh, what a fun song.
I know.
Probably not one you're going to sing in the car.
And to get a little technical right now, most of the verses of the poem that make up this chapter are parallelisms. The idea that ideas that are similar or the same in each line. So as we get into it, this is also the climax to the book of Deuteronomy in poetic form. This is partly why memorize it, because it's put to song, put to a rhythm in Hebrew, so it's just easier to remember and chant. So you start off verse 1, calling those 2 witnesses, heaven and earth, and then you get a lesson and you're going to get a discourse on the nature of God. You're going to see in verse 2 that this poem expresses hope and expectation that its words will be eagerly received. Just as much as you eagerly anticipate and welcome the rain, because it has life-giving effects, these words are to be like that rain, something you anticipate, look forward to, because it brings life. Then in verse 3, you see proclaiming God's name, which means declaring his qualities, recounting his deeds, pointing to his great kindness and his justice in all of his dealings. But I'll have you read verse 4.
He is the rock. His deeds are perfect. Everything he does is just and fair. He is a faithful God who does no wrong. How just and upright he is.
That's it. Okay. So rock, that's a common image we see used for God. Do you want to describe what a rock looks like in Israel?
So in Judges, there's one point at the very end where it says the 400 Benjamites who are left alive live or hide on a rock. I forget the name of the rock. So when we say rock, we usually think of a pebble type rock. But when they say rock, this is like massive boulder. I mean, big enough for 400 men to be on
huge.
it. So huge.
Because my commentators say the idea is that the deity is the source of refuge or protector. By calling God a rock, you are a refuge and a protector, which I think in a way, when those men live on that rock, that's their refuge.
Yeah.
So, given the amount of injustice and suffering in the world, what demands faith on the part of the believer is not that God exists, but that he's good and just. And that's what Moses is reminding them here. He said, God's deeds are perfect. That means they're reliable, they're faithful. The Hebrew word is tamin, T-A-M-I-M. Not sure if I'm saying that correct, but it means whole, unimpaired, or flawless. And it frequently expresses the idea of unimpaired loyalty. So if God's ways are perfect, they're whole, they're unimpaired, they're flawless. And when we say God is just, that's a quality often mentioned in context with God's faithfulness and his steadfastness. And then when you say God is true, it's again in the sense of being faithful. And he's upright. He's unswervingly trustworthy and reliable. So you have all these pictures and definitions of God right here going, you can trust him. He's going to be the same. He's been faithful. He's continued to be faithful. He's steady in all that he does. He's the constant. Just like that rock, that mountain is a constant presence. That's how God is. And then you get in verse 5, though, even though God's trustworthy, the people are going to act as if he has not been trustworthy. Where God is faithful, the people are going to be faithless. They're a crooked and perverse generation. And then you get in verse 6, Moses kind of talking about the people here. He's referring to the creation of Israel, not to human beings in general. The word order here seems to underscore the shocking nature of Israel's unfilial behavior. Do you treat even him this way? Commentators say. Verse 7, you're going to get that command to remember. That has been a theme throughout Deuteronomy. It's actually a theme throughout the Torah. And for good reason, because a people that forgets its past will not survive. And the elders of that society are the custodians of historical tradition because it was a predominantly oral culture. It's your elders, it's your leaders who need to be passing this on. They have been called to do something.
Which means we need to listen.
We need to listen, but we also have to go, okay, who am I the elders to?
Oh, interesting.
In a way,
Yeah.
My children, my Sunday school.
Yeah, because on the one hand, right now, at least in our age, we are both
40s.
Yeah.
Not considered elders yet.
We are not elders yet, but I can appreciate we are elder compared to.
So, or even then you could say elder in the faith. Are there new believers who I need to be encouraging and teaching?
Oh, yeah.
So now in verses 10 through 14, you're going to get different images of how God cares for the people. He's going to shield them. He's going to guard them. He's like that mother bird carrying them. You see in verse 13, he feeds them, which is literally suckled, which implies that God fed Israel with virtually no effort on his part. It was an easy thing, but the more they ate, the more they grew fatter, and they abandoned God.
So can I take you back real fast to verse 10?
Yep.
Because it says he surrounded them, watched them, he guarded them as the apple of his eye.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Hebrew is right there, the little man of the eye.
Ooh.
Because go look at yourself in a mirror, and how close to the mirror do you need to be to see your reflection in a mirror, in your own eye, to see yourself back in your eye? Like, how close to the mirror are you? That's how close Israel. Like, he's like, Israel, I've got you right there in my face.
Mm-hmm.
I can't not see you.
Oh, I like that picture.
That's how much I'm protecting you, holding you, watching you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then look at verse 15. Jerushan? Is that how you say it?
Sure.
That's another name for Israel. What do they do in verse 15?
Grew heavy, plump, stuffed, and abandoned the God who made them.
And kicked. They grew fat and kicked. Do you have that? That's the very first thing.
No, it says fat and unruly.
Oh, okay. Because unruly, kicking, like an unruly, rebellious animal.
Or child.
Yes, that too. Okay. Then it's going to keep talking about how they're going to follow after gods who don't do anything, didn't do anything for them. They're going to sacrifice to these gods. And God says, because you did this, I'm going to turn my face from you. And not only am I going to turn my face from you, you're going to have other consequences. Like you're going to go to Sheol, to that nether world. It's that ancient biblical term for a place where people go upon death. And though it's often mistranslated as hell, it means the grave, and more precisely, the realm of the dead. And then in verses 23 to 25, you're going to have God bringing in all his destructive forces to Israel. He's going to scatter them. And you just sit there and you go, oh, we've watched that happen. If you know the rest of the Bible, you know history, you know they do get scattered. But then I love that in 28 through 30, you get a reminder, it doesn't have to be this bad. Things could be better. One man could take on 1,000. 2 men could chase 10,000 when they have God as their rock. And God says, you know what? What's going to happen to your enemies, what has happened to your enemies like Sodom and Gomorrah, is also going to happen to you. So there's always this balance between choose life, choose death. Here's how they both play out. But here's where I love verses 36 to 38. You're going to get God who's watching his people suffer and kind of in a way asking them, where are those gods you turn to? What are they doing for you? Let them help you if you didn't need me. But then you get in 39, it turns to God saying, because there's nobody like me. This verse affirms that God is in control of the world. And Dennis Prager says it is difficult to identify a more important assertion in the Torah. If you want to pull one verse and go, I've never memorized anything, I would say verse 39 is just a reminder of who God is and what all he's doing. Because so now I am going to have you read, Erica, verses 40 to 42.
Now I raise my hand to heaven and declare, as surely as I live, when I sharpen my flashing sword and begin to carry out justice, I will take revenge on my enemies and repay those who reject me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword will devour flesh, the blood of the slaughtered and the captives and the heads of the enemy leaders. It's a bit gory, isn't it?
It is. But to me, I just go, now you get this warrior king. And you get, I raise my hand to heaven, is that gesture that accompanies invoking God in an oath. It's an idiom implying I swear. So this is going to happen. I'm going to raise my hand to heaven, symbolizing the making of an oath, which is introduced by the formula, as I live forever. God is declaring that he will take vengeance on his adversaries. And you do get a gory picture, but it makes me think of Habakkuk 3 when God grabs his bow.
Right, yeah.
And truthfully, after you're all done listening to this podcast, go read Habakkuk 3 because these two images together, it's like, oh.
We have a podcast on it, actually, because sometimes reading it for me, it's like, But the podcast, I think.
Yes, that's a good point.
Brian does a great job of this is what is happening. This is a God you don't want to cross.
And I don't think it's an image we put of God. And definitely I've never put it in Deuteronomy.
Right.
You know, I just have the picture of the cloud and the fire. But so you go, verse 43 isn't then, after you've got this great image of God, verse 43 calls everyone to rejoice because in the end, God wins. Israel, you do whatever you want, but you got to realize when you fight against him, when you kick against him, when you turn your back on him, you are turning your back on the most powerful God who will one day get rid of all those false gods and all his adversaries. Which that's where I'm going to end us today. Because I love that song ends with this huge picture of God, this powerful picture of God, and going, don't forget, Israel. You know how to make it, how to succeed, how to thrive, how to have a great life. It's your choice.
So that I would say that we can leave that before our listeners today. Like, okay, we have his word right in front of us. We know how to be blessed. We know, and that doesn't mean life will be easy and nothing bad will ever happen, but
it'll be better.
It'll be better.
Because these words, I mean, Deuteronomy keep telling us these words bring life. If we follow after God's commands, he will take care of us. He will protect us. He will defend us. And I can rest. I can have that refuge of that rock, that protector. I can have that mother bird who feeds her children, who takes care of them. And go, okay, God, because ultimately in the end, then I also know I will be with him forever in the life to come. So as we wrap, that's pretty much the big ending. I feel like you can feel how this is the climax of Deuteronomy.
Like this would be the cymbals clashing, like the music is blaring, everything's going off, trumpets.
And in a way, the last two chapters is kind of the epilogue in my mind.
Kind of like the wrap up.
Yeah. Moses is going to die. But let's end on this big crescendo. So go read Habakkuk 3. If you go, I don't see it, go listen to our podcast on Habakkuk 3. It's probably 2 podcasts, truthfully.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Because we had Brian Van and he takes longer.
He gets in depth.
Yes. But that's where we want to end today. Grab these verses, grab this hope, grab this picture of God and go, this is where I'm resting. This is who is on my side. And this is the side I want to be on.
Amen.
Yes. So thanks for joining us and come back next week as we finish Deuteronomy.
Bye-bye.